Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 26th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mike Kincaid.
Present.
Keith Campbell.
Here.
Sandra Jasonowski.
Excused.
Thank you. Dick Robertson.
Here.
John Copeland.
Excused.
Sierra Messenger.
Here.
Robert Hawkins.
Here.
Thanks.
Okay, and I know since we're doing our annual financial report, we don't have the minutes. We'll get those in our next meeting. So with that, would ask for consent from the council to take the agenda out of order. Consent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Move on to new business then. First item up here will be related to Project Lighthouse. So Molly Whitehead with Claire, I apologize. Claire with the Boone EDC. We have resolution 2024-08 and 09 related to Project Lighthouse. I'll turn it over to Claire.
Good evening, everyone. Claire Jelinas with the Boone County Economic Development Corporation. Our organization serves as your economic development arm, and we kind of assist you all and the private entity throughout the public hearing process and incentive negotiations. So the resolution in front of you is a recommendation for the City Council to consider both a 5-year real and personal property tax abatement for Gorton's Seafood. Gorton's is a seafood manufacturer and distributor that has partnered with U.S. Cold Storage to build another facility on their property that's in the existing Lebanon Business Park. This will be a separate facility, approximately 100,000 square feet. So with this project, we anticipate 163 full-time positions, around $28 an hour, and over an $89 million capital investment for the project. I want to introduce Chelsea Coate, the VP of Human Resources with Gorton's, to give you a quick overview of the company.
Thank you for having me. My name is Chelsea Coate. I'm the VP of HR at Gorton Seafoods, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the company today and a little bit more about the project. So Gorton's is one of the oldest companies in the country. We were founded in 1849. We have a long and successful history of innovation. We're the frozen seafood leader in North America. There's been lots of business evolution and change throughout the years. We are currently 100% owned by Nisui and have been since 2001. They are a Japanese company, and we have over 470 employees, and we've always believed that our strength comes from our employees. Just a few highlights from our history. Like I said, we were founded in 1849. So in 1868, we pioneered salt-dried codfish, the packing method for that. In 1905, we joined with John Pugh and Slade Gorton's joined to form Gorton's Pugh Fisheries. In 1952, we came out with the fish stick. So as you guys know today, the fish stick was invented. In 1956, we opened our Gorton's Seafood Center in Gloucester, Massachusetts. That's our production facility that still stands today. In 1975, the fisherman makes his television debut, so I'm sure you guys have seen that. In 2008, we partnered with the New England Aquarium to drive sustainable sourcing practices, and in 2023, we came out with our most recent innovation of air-fried fillets and shrimp, and we're celebrating our 175th anniversary this year. So a little bit about our employees and our location. So the majority of our employees are located in Gloucester, Massachusetts. 309 of those employees work within our production facilities, so that includes production, maintenance, and the management there. We have about 100 employees in our headquarters, which is located right across the street from our production facility. We also have 18 R&D and QA employees, which are in a third building on that campus. And then we have a plant out in Cleveland, Ohio, which has 36 employees, and then we have 7 field sales employees throughout the United States and 2 employees in Canada. So I want to talk a little bit about the Gorton's Way and our Trusted Catch program. So the Gorton's Way is our mission statement, and our mission is to spread the goodness of the sea by making quality seafood accessible to everybody and earning trust because we value integrity, passion, collaboration, curiosity, and agility. And that led us to our Trusted Catch program, which is really our CSR program. And so our CSR program has 4 focuses right now, which are ocean and fishery health, carbon footprint reduction, eco-friendly packaging, and social responsibility. So a little bit more about the project. The project is, we're hoping to construct a 115,000 square foot facility that'd be adjacent to the U.S. cold storage warehouse. The goal is to install 3 frozen seafood processing lines, and it would be with a variety of different packaging options. So this is a partnership with U.S. Cold. We have had a 40-plus year partnership with U.S. Cold, and the plan is to really have both Gorton's and U.S. Cold grow together, with our facility being concurrent to a 100,000 square foot expansion for U.S. Cold. And the anticipated, as Claire mentioned, the anticipated investment is $89 million. So this is a quick aerial view. So on the left, you can see where it would be located in Lebanon, and on the right, you see the different facilities. So the gray is the current U.S. cold storage, the orange is the expansion of the U.S. cold warehouse, and the blue is the proposed Gorton's facility. And side. And as far as job creation goes, our plan is to hire 163 employees. We're hoping to offer an attractive 4-day, 10-hour work schedule with competitive benefits on top of that, and the average wage rate would be about $26. And just a little bit on the equipment and infrastructure. So, we would be installing packaging or processing equipment similar to what we have in our production facility in Gloucester. We would be installing thermal fluid heaters, hydraulics, things like that. In mitigation technologies, we would be using fryer exhaust oxidation systems, CO2 transcritical refrigeration, and also other ergonomic and systems for worker safety. And so quickly about the timeline. So we're hoping to start production in March 2024. That would be construction of the building, which would take about a year. And then in March 2025, we would start equipment installation. That would go on for several months. And then equipment and infrastructure commissioning would be between July and September of 2025, with the first production line starting in September of 2025, a second line up and running hopefully January 2026, and the third production line would start in July of 2026. So as far as community outreach, being a good partner is something that is in our DNA at Gorton's. It's in our mission statement, and it's something that we take very seriously. And we have many avenues that we give back to our organization and our community. The first, so I've pointed out a few of our bigger investments over the last couple of years. So the first one is a Gorton's Cancer Center, which was a donation that we made to a local hospital so that people in the community could get services in their community instead of having to drive to Boston to do that. The second one is we made a donation to building a new Cape Ann YMCA. Cape Ann is a group of communities on the Cape Ann Peninsula, Gloucester included. So this was a huge project, and it's been a huge boost for the community. And it's been, I personally go there, and it's a great facility. We also have the Sawyer Free Library, which is just a renovation project of the current library. This is the public library, and they broke ground last week, and they are renovating that, and the goal is to really bring technology into communities that might not have it. And then just a little bit about our community outreach and volunteerism. So here's just our team doing a bunch of volunteer events throughout the year. So we've got people going to farms where they donate food to food banks, food pantries, dune grass planting, street sweeping, all those type of things. And then supporting local businesses is always something that's important to us as well. So here's just 2 quick examples. One is we do a foodie tour for new hires where we meet with, so a local person brings people around to different restaurants. The other example is our flagship, which is a newsletter that gets put out quarterly that we send to employees and retirees. We use a local printer for that, and I would never change from them because they have bailed me out of several tight deadlines. And then last, we have our gift matching program. So this is a program where all our employees, if they are eligible to receive a dollar-for-dollar match up to $5,000 for any donations that they make to nonprofit organizations. So any employee has access to this, and here's just a couple of those organizations that we have matched donations for the last year. And lastly, you know, our employees are engaged with our community. We are an organization that has hired multiple generations over the years. Most of our employees, we have a long tenured. I'm considered a baby in the organization, and I've been there for almost 16 years. You know, we have employees who stand up for veterans' rights. We have people who have voted for, you know, safer crosswalks, and all of that is, you know, because we're a big community partner, and we want to make sure that we bring that to Lebanon as well. Any questions?
Thank you, Chelsea. Any questions for Chelsea from the council?
No, just want to welcome you to Lebanon.
Thank you. We're excited to be here. So,
Thanks so much. Claire, anything else you wanted to close on, or?
Nothing else, but if you guys have any questions.
Any questions for Claire from the council? Okay. Do you mind reading Resolution 2024-08, please?
Sure. Resolution 2024-08, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, regarding certain real property tax abatement deductions for Gordon's, Inc. Whereas pursuant to Indiana Code, the Common Council has the right and opportunity to abate the payment of real property taxes for real estate located within an area declared by the council to be an economic revitalization area, and to abate the payment of personal property taxes within an economic revitalization area. Pursuant to the act, the council may find a particular area within the jurisdiction of the city as an economic revitalization area, and may, by adoption of a resolution, declare such area to be an economic revitalization area. The council adopted Resolution 0803, the declaratory resolution, on May 12, 2008, pursuant to the act, declaring the area whose boundaries are located within the corporate boundaries of the city, comprising 38 or so acres within the Lebanon Business Park, which is more particularly described in the exhibits to the resolution, an economic revitalization area in which property owners making an application to the city pursuant to the act, subsequently approved by this council pursuant to the act, may receive real property tax abatement and or personal property tax abatement pursuant to the act. The council, after following all applicable procedures of the act, took final action confirming the declaratory resolution on May 27, 2008, thereby establishing an economic revitalization area. Gordon's, Inc. has filed with this council a statement of benefits, real estate improvements, attached to the resolution and made a part hereof, which describe the proposed project to be installed by the applicant in order to receive real property tax abatement for the project. And the project includes the construction of approximately 100,000 square foot facility owned and operated by Gordon's, and the installation of new manufacturing, logistical, distribution, and information technology equipment, consisting of warehouse and distribution equipment in the facility, which will be utilized by Gordon within its manufacturing operations. This council has reviewed the statement, and the area will be of public utility and will be to the benefit and welfare of the citizens and taxpayers of the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, as follows. Section 1. The proposed project will be located in the area which has been confirmed as an economic revitalization area pursuant to the act. Based upon the information in the statement, this council makes the following findings. The estimate of $34,647,000 as the cost of the improvement being constructed is reasonable for projects of that nature. The estimate of hiring 163 employees who will be employed can reasonably be expected to result from the proposed project. The estimate of $9,784,695 for the aggregate annual salaries of those individuals who will be employed can be reasonably expected to result from the proposed project. The other benefits about which information has been presented to this council are benefits that can be reasonably expected to result from the proposed project. The totality of benefits is sufficient to justify the granting of personal property tax abatement to the applicant through the deduction provided by the act. Statements submitted by the applicant are approved. Real property tax deductions for the project are hereby approved. The period for real property tax deductions under the act for the project shall be 5 years from the date each item of real property is first assessed and shall be at 50% each year. Pursuant to the act, the council shall cause to be filed a certified copy of the resolution with the Boone County Auditor. This resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you. Resolution's been read. Discussion from council.
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning Resolution 2024-08? Okay, seeing none, would entertain further discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion we approve Resolution 2024-0.
Motion to approve and a second from Keith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. All right, Resolution 2024-09.
Resolution 2024-09, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, regarding certain personal property tax abatement deductions for Gordon's Inc. Whereas pursuant to the act, the City of Lebanon, by and through the Common Council, has the right and opportunity to abate the payment of real property taxes for real estate located in an area declared by the council to be an economic revitalization area, and to abate the payment of personal property taxes within that economic revitalization area. Pursuant to the act, the council may find that a particular area within the jurisdiction of the city is an economic revitalization area, and may, by adoption of a resolution, declare such area to be an economic revitalization area. The council adopted its resolution 0803 on May 12, 2008, pursuant to the act, declaring the area whose boundaries are located within the corporate boundaries of the city, comprising 38 or so acres within the Lebanon Business Park, more particularly described and shown within the resolution, an economic revitalization area pursuant to the act, and subsequently approved pursuant to the act that real property tax abatement and or personal property tax abatement is acceptable within the area. The council, after following all applicable procedures of the act, took final action confirming the declaratory resolution on May 27, 2008, thereby establishing an economic revitalization area. Gordon's Inc. has filed with this council a statement of benefits, personal property attached to the resolution, which describes the proposed project to be installed by Gordon's in order to receive personal property tax abatement for the project. The project includes installation of new manufacturing, logistical distribution, and information technology equipment, consisting of manufacturing production line equipment and systems in the applicant's manufacturing facility to be constructed and located in the area, which will be used by the applicant in the manufacturing operations in the area. This council has reviewed the statement, and the improvement of the area will be a public utility and will be to the benefit and the welfare of the citizens and taxpayers of the city. Now therefore, be it resolved and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana as follows. The proposed project will be located in an area which has been confirmed as an economic revitalization area pursuant to the act. Based upon the information in the statement, this council makes the following findings. The estimate of $54,671,100 as the cost of new manufacturing equipment to be installed is reasonable for projects of that nature. The estimate of hiring of 163 new individuals who will be employed can be reasonably expected to result from the project. The estimate of $9,784,695 for the aggregate annual salaries of those individuals who will be employed can be reasonably expected to result from the project. The other benefits about which information has been presented to this council are benefits that can be reasonably expected to result from the proposed project. The totality of benefits is sufficient to justify the granting of personal property tax abatement to the applicant through the deduction provided by the act. The statement submitted by the applicant is approved. Personal property tax deductions for the project are hereby approved. The period for personal property tax deductions under the act for the project shall be 5 years from the date of each item of personal property is first assessed and 50% from each year forward. Pursuant to the act, the council shall cause to be filed a certified copy of this resolution with Boone County Auditor. This resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you very much. Resolution has been read. Any discussion, comments, questions from council?
No, sir.
Okay. Any public comment concerning resolution 2024-09? Okay. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve Resolution 2024-09.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. All right, thank you, council. And thank you, Claire. I just want to say to Chelsea and the Gordon's team watching at home, I'm sure, just to clarify, it's Lebanon, right? You wouldn't want us to call it your Gloucester, right? Yeah, so you're right. It would go both ways. But don't worry, you'll learn. It's okay.
But I have one comment to the Boone EDC and for Claire. It's brought to my attention today that she has taken a position at her hometown in Westfield, Economic Development. So she's going to be leaving here very soon. I just want to say I've had a pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last 2+ years, and you've done a fantastic job. So great job. You're going to be hard to replace.
All right, I'm going to finish my comment here, Mike. Appreciate you saying that about Claire, that we could have gotten to that. But I just want to say on behalf of the city, I want to welcome you guys. We are excited to have you as part of Lebanon. As a person that, as a young kid, I got a lot of fish sticks, right? And most of them were usually Gorton's. So excited to have you guys. And, I'm sure my kids will get them too. So it'd be pretty exciting that, that is a great product. It's a great American brand. Going to be made right here in Lebanon. So appreciate the partnership, appreciate the investment, and looking forward to our continued success together. So thank you guys. All right. I'm going to do another quick, easy one before we dive into some other stuff. So I'm going to move to item E, if that's okay with council. Resolution 2024-07. City Court to adopt the Odyssey Court System. I think we have Judge Cruz in the audience tonight. Judge, if you want to come up real quick and say why we need to have this resolution for us.
Good evening. As part of trying to get the city court going again, I had to come up with a case management system, and Odyssey is the one that the Indiana Supreme Court has implemented in every county court in the state, and several city and town courts also use it. I know Carmel City Court, the Zionsville Town Court, Elwood City Court, they all use the Odyssey case management system. And when I was at the judge orientation on the 31st of January and 1st of February, got to get some information and met the two people that are at the state level with the Supreme Court that handle implementation of the Odyssey case management system. And of course, there's nothing simple when it comes to getting it done in government. So this is my first real taste of it. They sent me an email saying, all right, your city needs to pass a resolution saying that the city adopts this case management system. The big reason, I believe, is that there's the expectation from the Supreme Court that the city will maintain sufficient information technology, IT. There's too many ITs and IPs, and I get a little confused sometimes. But information technology systems, we're responsible for the cost of the hardware. The software, like I've said before, is free, but the actual hardware that we have has to be sufficient. That's one big reason for this resolution to come before the council. I'm in support of it. We need one. The hardware we'd have to have regardless. The software, if we don't go with this, we'd have to find something and pay for it, and it just makes a lot of sense to go with this. So that was the first real step to getting Odyssey implemented. I did find out also that we'll be the first court who is starting from scratch with Odyssey. Pretty much every other, well, not just pretty much every other court that they have done this with has already had some sort of case management system other than Odyssey, and so they switched. And so we're going to be starting from scratch, and I don't think it's going to be too much different than any other county or city or town court other than starting from scratch. So they also, like I was saying, part of the process in getting the they call it the CMS, implemented is they actually have to physically come here and inspect our current IT systems, hardware, microphones, whatever, cables, wiring, make sure it's up to snuff for their system. And so I want to say that there's absolutely no cost associated with getting the court going, but as far as the software system, that's for free.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions for Judge on this? Again, you said my favorite word here, free. So again, it's a kind of a formality. We have to adopt this resolution to make sure we say, hey, we're in. Then they'll help us kind of get it all. And also they provide support for you if we need help with it, things like that too, which is
Yeah,
probably
certainly.
valuable.
And there was a 1-week training for judge staff. It might just be me for the actual judge staff. Clerk staff's going to have to know how to operate it because, of course, there's money coming and going, and they need to know how to operate the Odyssey system as well. I haven't seen the back end of it. I've seen it from the front end as a lawyer, and searching for the information online is real easy, real smooth. And so I imagine the back end kind of things might be hopefully just as simple.
With that, can you read Resolution 2024-07, please?
Resolution number 2024-07, a proposal for a general resolution for the city court to adopt a statewide case management system called Odyssey. The statewide court management system called Odyssey is being offered to the City of Lebanon, Indiana City Court at no cost. Division of State Court Administration signed a state contract in 2007 with Tyler Technologies, purchasing the rights to use Odyssey for all judicial staff in Indiana. The division has been deploying Odyssey to the trial courts and city and town courts since 2007. In addition to the fact the Division of State Court Administration has paid the initial licensing costs for the Odyssey software, the Division of State Court Administration will pay the yearly software maintenance and support costs, and the town will not incur any yearly licensing costs to use the software. The Division of State Court Administration will pay for the training of the judge and court staff. While the city currently pays for the maintenance and support for the current court case management system software, with the implementation of Odyssey, this cost will be eliminated. Odyssey offers our citizens access to non-confidential court case information at no cost over the internet at mycase.in.gov. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, meeting in regular session as follows. The City Council hereby approves and supports the implementation of the statewide Odyssey case management system for the City of Lebanon, Indiana City Court, and finds that the implementation of Odyssey is in the best interests of our city. This resolution shall be in effect from and after its passage by the City Council.
Thank you. Resolution has been read. Any discussion, comments? No, sir. Any public comment? Okay. Would entertain a motion then concerning Resolution 2024-07.
Motion we approve Resolution 2024-07.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, you got yourself a court system.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'll just mention also, next step is Mike, Tanya, and me will have to send a letter of understanding, technically addressed to Chief Justice Loretta Rush, but I'm sure one of her staff at the state level will get that. Basically, just saying that we want to be brought in. So I don't know. Do I need to draft that, revise it? Who?
We can figure that out.
City attorney or?
Was that already, there was a letter that was.
There's a template, yes.
Right, so we'll take care of that.
Yeah, we'll handle
Okay,
it. Yep.
all right.
Yes.
We got it
So
for you.
we're good. Awesome.
you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Judge. Okay, go back to our normally scheduled meeting then, back to old business. First item up is ordinance 2024-02, the United Development Ordinance and Zoning Map update. This is on the second reading. Ben.
Evening, Council. I'm going to be hopefully extremely brief tonight and just give you a quick recap of where we've been updating the Unified Development Ordinance and Zoning Map. We've been working on this for a little over a year at this point and introduced it to you all about a month ago, and wanted to give you a full month to review the information we gave you because it's a pretty hefty document to go through. So we wanted to do that after the first reading a month ago. And so now we are back in front of you for the second reading tonight of the ordinance. This would be adopting a new unified development ordinance and zoning map to replace our existing one. We do feel like this is going to be a document that's going to be very helpful for us moving forward from an enforcement perspective, and also it's very user-friendly. And so that's going to be good all the way around. And we've definitely cleaned up a lot of things that were challenges for us previously. So we're excited to present this to you. Wanted to just do that quick introduction. Our consulting team is here in case there's any specific questions you had for them. So they're available for those. With that, I'll just open it up to any questions, comments from anyone, and move forward from there.
You did make some adjustments on landscaping?
Yes, we did definitely clean that up where we had, I know a couple of occasions where we had landscape plans where it looks like a national forest out there. So we did clean that up and streamline that. So it's not so onerous in terms of implementing the landscape requirements.
Ben, question. I spent 3 days scanning through the whole thing. I didn't, and I might have just glazed right over it. Parking lot lighting, I think I mentioned to you before, that was a concern because of the Brakeman facility over here. There's no lighting in the parking lot in front or the back. You know, and I think that's a really big problem for residents and stuff like that. Of course, you know me, I always have a thing about parking too in apartment facilities and so forth. And, you know, when you got one parking lot for one unit and a single unit or a single bedroom unit, and you know, they always end up with two people, and you always end up with two vehicles, and, you know, you end up with, to me, not enough parking in apartment building facilities. Because we only allow for like one space or maybe 1.5 space, and then there's like no spacing for non-occupants, visitors parking or something like that in those. And how do we treat that? I mean, it just seems like that those are things that we ought to be considering. And, you know, being a guy, you know, I kind of look after an apartment building for a friend of mine. And we have that same issue all the time, and dealing with one unit with one parking spot, and there ends up with two people in there, and both person has a car, and we got to deal with that, you know.
Yeah, I think what the ordinance requires is the average. So in the case where you have one apartment where you have two people each with a car, you may have one apartment where they have no car or only one car. So that's why a lot of time what the ordinance requirements are typically the average, 1.5, 1.75, something like that. So that's, and I think depending on where the apartments are located may determine how many cars you have too, because maybe apartments downtown, maybe there's not as many cars versus something that's out along the interstate. So, so those requirements are based on the averages. So on a one bedroom, the average is typically 1.5 cars per unit, because some might have two, some might have one, some might have none, some might have three. You never know. So that's what the standards are. And of course, in any time where we're looking at these with a specific project, we can always look at that with them and decide whether more or less is needed. That's why we review all the projects to decide.
I've always been trying to figure out what that 1.5 parking spaces, what's that equivalent to? Two small compacts, or,
yeah,
you know, I just.
Maybe a motorcycle
like,
for the second person.
Okay, I just tried to figure that one out.
Yeah.
The other thing that always gets me, and I know that we have, it seems like, and I say this all the time when it comes to subdivisions and so forth, you know, we've narrowed our streets down, and we end up with parking on both sides, and then you end up with one lane of traffic to drive down through it seems like through the development, and then our setbacks from the sidewalk to the home, and pickup trucks seem to be so big, and they take over the whole parking lot, they take over the sidewalk, and people can never walk on the sidewalk, they're walking in the street, and it gets difficult sometimes to drive through the street when there's parking on both sides, and it's like we're putting everything in here so close And it's like, well, why don't we spread out a little bit, and give people more space? I know you tell me all the time, people don't want that, but I'm just telling you, the people that do want space don't want to be that close to their neighbor, and we make these subdivisions so tight that it's like it's so difficult for people to come and visit. You got a two car garage and 2 drives there, and you're lucky if you get 2 cars, maybe 4, and you cover up the parking spot, but there's no place out front to park because everybody's celebrating a holiday on the same day, So I don't know. It just seems like we need to think about spreading things out a little bit.
I think the good thing.
I would
Yeah, go
want to
ahead.
say, I think something to think about too, right, is you shouldn't necessarily build your street infrastructure to your busiest day, right? Because the problem is when it's not that busiest day and there aren't cars parked in the streets, right, you get a super wide road. And I will tell you, other than trash, the most complaints I get about in my office are people driving too fast in neighborhoods. And that's something to think about, right? And having the parking on both sides of the street, part of that is a visual indicator that says, hey, you're in a residential area, you need to slow down, right? And even if it said, hey, if it's posted it's 30, and you could be the best driver in the world and follow all the rules, but you have a super wide road that's straight, there's just a subconscious natural inclination to drive faster, right? So that's, I think that's some of the thoughts behind of the narrowing of the roads, the parking on the streets, because it makes it safe. It's a better situation to have to make someone drive slower than to have a situation where you've built it so big that people can drive as fast as they want, because that puts more people in jeopardy. And that's something it's certainly a shift in philosophy than we've had. But you drive through I think Anderson Lane's a great example of a road that was built too big, right? It's supposed to be 30 miles an hour on that road. Like, if you can drive 30 miles an hour on that road, you're struggling because you're just like, what am I doing? Right? 'Cause you feel like you're on a major interstate there. It's so wide. So I think it's a shift in mentality and design focus. And I think I think you're seeing that here as part of this discussion, right? They always say, look at, parking lots on, Black Friday is supposed to be the biggest shopping day of the year, right? But you go to a lot of our shops, our Walmart, places like that, even on Black Friday, right, there was more parking spots than cars, right? So what are we building it to, right? So even if on the busiest shopping day of the year, half of the parking lot's empty, you've got too many parking spots, right? Which means that there's other uses for that land that could be, other shops, right? Other housing, other retail, right? So it's about make sure you have enough space, but you also aren't wasting space either, right? I think that's something we have to think about from a land use standpoint, from a city perspective. And that's, I think, what this is trying to get at with kind of the way we structured it, with flexibility based on density, not as necessarily based on structured X amount by Y amount by Z amount. You know what I mean? So.
Well, as a trade-off, I would trade the narrow street for the wider lot, and the homes a little farther apart from each other, so everybody has more room out front, and set back a little farther off the street, so that way people don't have to walk in the street, being you got sidewalks on both sides. Because we see, and we can't control what people buy.
But it also goes to housing affordability then too, right? That's a topic of discussion we've been having a lot as well, right? You start making the lots bigger, right? That just drives the price of the house up too, right? And so we're constantly hearing the cost of, housing now, right? And so, it costs the same to build the same size house regardless of what the lot size is, right? So I think that's the challenge we have, and I think that's something we're trying to find that balance. And frankly, I think some of this is just recognizing that the market and the home builders, they know the market better than we do, right? I think the fatal flaw of our previous UDO was that we put in all of our rules and our, here's how it's going to be, right? And then the Great Recession happened, and then came out on the other side of it, and what the market wanted was very different then, right? And so I think this is a idea behind this UDO to try to make it a little more want to say flexible, but a little more reactive to what the market is, right? And if we have a lot of demand for more townhomes, right, it has the ability to do it, right? If we have more demand to shift back towards those bigger lots, right, there's a flexibility to do that, right? So all of that's kind of, it put more in the developer hands versus the city trying to dictate and put a round peg in a square hole too.
Yeah, and I think we need to be in a position where we're looking, where's that custom home development going? I don't, somewhere down the line, we need those custom developed homes in an area, because I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
From talking to some representatives that they don't work there now, but people who used to work at Lily's, okay, and so forth. And, and the people are telling me that they won't live here because we don't have the custom home that they're looking for. And I said, where is the custom home going in Lebanon that we could keep those people here,
I think the good thing about the way the UDO is written now is it provides for creativity and some flexibility there too, so that it's not always a race to the bottom to try to get the most affordable thing. What it allows for is a developer to look at that market and say, okay, I can provide some of those upper end residential lots, but that's not going to help me make enough money to make this development work. My executives aren't going to approve it. I also need to be able to provide other product types in the same neighborhood that maybe get absorbed faster so that we can kind of basically offset some of those that are going to be slower building. So that's what this UDO does. It allows somebody to say, okay, we're going to take this 100 acres and we're going to create an area for this product type and for this product type and for this product type. And they can do that without having to go through the PUD process and create a new set of standards. They can do that in the existing UDO. So that allows us then to work with them to say, okay, in this 100 acres, we want to see multiple product types. Let's figure out how they work together so that we can get some of those larger lot custom home type things, and also have some other products that maybe there's some people at Lilly that can't afford $1 million home, but they want to live in that same neighborhood. So we have the ability to have multiple product types. At the same time, then we allow flexibility on the front house setback, but not necessarily on the garage setback. So if they want to put a house that's 10 foot off the front property line, that's great, but the garage is still going to have a setback to allow 2 cars to park in the driveway. So again, I know cars are getting bigger and bigger. That's not going to change anytime soon. So by the time we decided 22 feet's enough, then all of a sudden somebody's going to come out with a 24-foot long SUV. So that's just something that we're just going to have to keep tracking the market of those things and making sure we're not kind of putting ourselves in a corner, if you will.
I can't see why a guy wants a super cab pickup truck with an extra bed and a 18-inch trailer hitch on the back, and he wants to park it in front of the garage, because it covers up everything. But anyway, it was a nice document. Found it very easy to read and understand, so I liked it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is while we've spent a lot of time drafting this, we're going to recognize that there are some things that we missed or some things that are even massaging over the next 6, 8, 12 months. So I would expect that we're probably going to be back in front of you at times saying, we discovered something doesn't work the way we wanted it to, and so we're going to have to make some changes. But this document, I think, puts us in a good place moving forward, and something we can work with and something we can work off of.
Any more questions for Ben? And reading ordinance 2024-02, please.
Ordinance number 2024-02, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Boone County, Indiana, repealing the Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map and adopting the updated Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Lebanon, Indiana. Whereas the City of Lebanon Common Council adopted the current Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map by ordinance number 07-16 on December 10th, 2007. The City of Lebanon Advisory Plan Commission initiated and prepared a proposal to repeal Ordinance 07-16 and replace the text of the Unified Development Ordinance, including all amendments in the zoning map, with an updated Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map. Pursuant to Indiana Code, the Commission conducted the required public hearing on the proposal on the 16th day of January 2024 to repeal and replace Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map as required by law. Pursuant to Indiana Code, the commission, after paying reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan, the current conditions and character of the current structures and uses in each district, the most desirable use for which land in each district is adapted, and conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction, and the responsible development and growth of the community, determined its favorable recommendation on the 16th day of January 2024 by an 8-0 vote, and thereafter certified its recommendation to this legislative body, the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, on the 17th day of January 2024. And pursuant to Indiana Code, the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, has considered the proposed Unified Development Ordinance and Zoning Map, along with the recommendation of the City of Lebanon Advisory Plan Commission, and now repeals Ordinance Number 0716 and adopts the proposed Unified Development Ordinance and Zoning Map and approves this ordinance as hereafter set out. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Boone County, Indiana, meeting in regular session as follows. Council Ordinance Number 07-16, Unified Development Ordinance as amended, including the official zoning map incorporated therein as amended, and all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. The Unified Development Ordinance as set forth in the attached Exhibit A, including in the official zoning map attached hereto as Exhibit B, and all material that is incorporated within the Unified Development Ordinance by reference are hereby adopted as Title 15 of Lebanon, Indiana Code by ordinances as amended. Upon its acceptance, the Commission is hereby authorized to print and file 2 copies of the Unified Development Ordinance in the office of the City of Lebanon Clerk Treasurer to keep on file for public inspection. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage by the Common Council. All ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Any portion of the ordinance later to be found void or invalid shall not affect the remaining portions of this ordinance.
Thank you very much. All right, any final discussion from council on ordinance 2024-02?
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning this ordinance? Okay. Would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2024.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Keith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Is there anything from council? Okay. Back to new business then. We've already checked most of these off, but item D is left. Food and beverage requests concerning Stone Eater Bike Park. Kevin.
Thank you very much. Let me get you guys, make sure we're connected here. Earlier, let me. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you listening to this tonight. And I guess I want to start off by, giving you an update of where things are with the park project. And really just want to thank everybody here and on behalf of the Parks Department, the Engineering Department, Department of Public Works, the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, NICA, the Peoria Nation, Hoosier Mountain Bike Association, Bicycle Indiana, just a few of our partners that are working with us on the project. And we're all working to deliver this and all working to deliver this on budget. But we've had some struggles, I guess, since last summer trying to bring this in on budget. But we are still excited about delivering the park. We're excited about delivering a world-class cycling destination for our community, for the bicycle community at a larger scale. We're excited about the partnership with NICA and the fact that they have actually already named Stone Eater Bike Park as a site for the last race of their 2024 season, which would be the weekend of October 25th. Keep in mind, they do have an alternate location if we're not able to deliver, but we're doing all we can to make sure that we can deliver that park for them, for our citizens, for everybody, for the nearly 20,000 visitors that the experts that have designed the park are forecasting based off of similar parks and those kind of visitation rates that they see. So we're excited, and we've done a lot to date. Mass earthwork is complete. Fortification of the landfill cap, the groundwater monitoring system, perimeter fencing, trail marking is all in place. I want to thank the Parks Department staff and the DPW staff for some of the trail clearing that we've already done. Partnerships with Boone County Solid Waste for supplying dumpsters for us. So a lot is happening, and we're doing all we can to try to bring this in as cost effective as we possibly can. We have Pump Tracks USA under contract. This is a world-class cycling sports contractor that has built Olympic venues and World Cup venues all over the world, and they're excited about the partnership and the opportunity to work on Stone Eater. However, we have struggled to get our site infrastructure package under contract. As you might be aware, and a lot of these things come through Board of Works, so you don't always hear all these updates. We've bid it 3 different times. We've bid it in different formats, different package configurations, trying to get more aggressive pricing, trying to get more competition. Unfortunately, though, at the end of the day, we've really only had one bidder show interest in this project. And it's Milestone Corporation, which is a great company. I don't want to take anything away from them. We would love to do business with them. But they submitted a bid on January 22nd, again, the 3rd round of bidding, at a little over $1.4 million. We've been negotiating and value engineering with them, trying to get that price down. We're now down to $911,590 in that contract. So, we've put in a lot of effort to get us here. Why don't I share? Let me share what the budget currently looks like. We talked about the project budget of $1.9 million. That was really based off of funds available when we started going into construction, and that's what what came before this body. But those funds were made up of $500,000 in American Rescue Plan money, grant money, another $750,000 from the READY 1.0 program, the READY program, the initial program, again, grant money. And then there was match money that came out of our sanitation fund. Again, the sanitation fund was money that was originally set up to operate the landfill. So there's been no general fund appropriations. There's been no tax increases to build this park. We really tried to do this entirely with the funds we have and the grant funding we've been chasing. And so that totaled to about that $1.9 million that you've heard us talk about. We've spent some money since 2020 on various things, minor things, engineering fees, environmental studies, things of that nature. We're down now to about $1.2 million that is left in the coffers, if you will, to build the project. The milestone bid, the bid that I mentioned at $1.4 million is listed there. We have no longer any additional earthwork. That is all done. But we've got an NDOT entry to build that has to be built to NDOT standards. So there's very little value engineering we could do there, but we were able to do a little bit and drop that number from $252,000 down to $210,000. The entry drive and the first 25 parking spaces went from 72,200 to 59,530. The remaining 33 spaces to build us our total parking lot, we dropped about $10,000 off of that, from 57 down to 47. We've been sourcing crushed aggregate for haul roads or maintenance roads, really for the Parks Department to maintain, which will also double as trail connections as well. But primarily, these are roads that are used for the operation of the park. And then crushed concrete sourcing that will be set up for the Pump Tracks USA team to build the park. So again, we've dropped both of those crushed aggregate numbers from 244 for the aggregate roads down to 147. The biggest cut there is actually the elimination of one of these maintenance roads. And then there's been a lot of negotiations with different suppliers and different holders of this crushed concrete to get that number down from 423 to 750. What is not in the park, we've bid this out, but we've not seen really competitive pricing. So in the interest of delivering a park that the public can use, we've eliminated the electric components to the park. So these are more components that would be set up for maintenance purposes. For maintenance purposes, it's primarily mowing, so that's not really electric for that, but primarily for event staging is what the electric was for. We've cut out the water. $30,000 cut out of there, and that was really to provide for a bike wash station and also some maintenance of future park improvements that would require some watering on a regular basis. Storm sewer, we've worked with our designers to redesign that and get that pricing. This is also in the milestone bid, down from 382 to 277. That's really about all we can cut. We're still have the trail packages that are in their entirety. That's that 343,000 roughly of trail contraction items. We've also eliminated the maintenance building. Unfortunately, we had hoped to build a pole barn out there to store some maintenance equipment. But that will have to be hauled to the site with the trailers and stuff that we use to haul mowing equipment and things around to parks on a daily basis as it is. So that's where the project stands. There's some few other miscellaneous things there. We're eliminating some landscaping. We're eliminating some of the split rail fencing that we feel is really not necessary. But we're holding some items on the remaining design contracts and remaining environmental permitting and signage, which is really yet to be resolved. What that puts us into is a situation where, if I mentioned at the top, we had the 1.2 million roughly. So minimizing the scope of the project, we're down to about 1.4. $220,000 over budget is where we're at. If we were to add in a 10% contingency of $133,000 just for the construction-related items that I listed above, we're at about $350,000 over budget. We think we can possibly reduce contingencies. There is an opportunity to possibly eliminate those 33 parking spaces, although that's only a $47,000 savings. It'd probably be better for us to go ahead and build our parking lot to its full extent. So we're in this range of $200,000 to $350,000 short. And that's why I'm here tonight is really to ask you for a food and beverage appropriation from your budgeted lines of $300,000. And I want to say I think what I'm asking for is a not to exceed number because we are still actively looking for additional funding sources. We're working with philanthropic organizations and foundations around the state to try to raise more money. We're working with potential corporate partners. We've already seen a donation from Lilly of building materials to the site, boulders that were delivered. We're hoping there's a continued partnership with them as well. But we're looking at trying to get the park moving forward. As I mentioned, we have ARP money, American Rescue Plan money, and READY money in the project. Those monies have to go through procurement by the end of the year. So you might say, why don't we shelve things and look at rebidding it? We're kind of out of time. We need to get the project under contract. We need to get the project started so that we can take advantage of that 1.25 million that has been already awarded to the project through grant funding. So, like I said, I think it's a $300,000. It is a $300,000 ask. I think it's not to exceed. Hopefully, we're able to increase those fundraising efforts to take that number lower. We got a CVB grant for a couple of years ago that we've still not received, and we're trying to understand why we can't collect that from them. They owe us roughly $75,000. That's not included in these numbers. That would defray that cost even further. But for right now, what I'm really asking is for your continued support. You've always supported the project, but we're asking for another $300,000 from food and beverage, not to exceed. Again, we hope that number is, I've shown you here where that number can easily be down to in the 200s range. And with additional donations, with even the food and beverage, or excuse me, the CVB grant, we can get that number down under 200, and hopefully we can continue to do so. But as I said, I really need to get the project procurement behind us, get it under construction so that we can fulfill our grant requirements and move the project forward in 2024. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer more questions, but respectfully, I am asking for a not to exceed food and beverage grant of $300,000.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment before we jump into discussion. You know, the construction industry is very challenging right now, just from a timeline standpoint. This is not for lack of trying. I mean, we have tried this, you know, three different ways, been it 3 different times. I mean, we've brainstormed on different ways to try to deliver this. You know, we've cut off a lot. I mean, this is pretty bare. This is kind of bare bones.
Yeah.
Where do we want to be? And I think it's a testament to Kevin's passion on this. That, I mean, this is really the first time we've asked for this amount of money. And we've not been trying to we've been trying to avoid this discussion, right? We've been trying to deliver this through grants, through fundraising. And I think we were that close, right? I mean, we really were that close. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you called it a $2 million park, essentially. You know, missing it by 10% from a funding is not bad, right? So if we can deliver essentially this $2 million park for $300,000 out of a food and beverage fund, which we didn't spend all of last year, by the way, too. We have...
Yeah. Coincidentally, there was $300,000 left in the food and beverage line last year. But we thought about possibly asking for that at the, you know, late in the year, but we said, no, let me try to bid it one more time. I think I've got some options, got some ideas that can get this down. And we have gotten it down, but, you know, the mayor's right. There's an incredible amount of capital in the construction industry right now that's, and there's still, coming out of COVID, issues with trades, issues with contractor availability that we're still struggling with, that I think are also playing into this factor. It's just an incredibly, it's a market really for the contractors right now. They don't need the work, they're busy, and we're seeing that where we were literally calling contractors, begging them to bid on the project, and we could only get what is the largest road contractor in the state to entertain any options here. And that's, quite frankly, is because they are active partners with the city. They are building our Fordyce Road project. They're building all the Leap District road projects. They're building all the pavement work and curb work for the Lilly site. So Milestone is very much entrenched in the community right now and wants to continue to be a good community partner. But that's where we're at. And again, I appreciate you saying that's not for a lack of trying. It's really not. There was roughly $1.6 million in your fund in food and beverage, so we're not putting that into a jeopardy situation where you wouldn't be able to fund needs as they came forward. And again, there's $500,000 in that budgeted line this year, so we would be asking for $300,000, but $300,000 was the number that was not spent in 2023.
And also make just one more point too. A lot of these foundations or companies that want to make, you know, contributions, gifts, things like that, if we can show them, hey, we're under contract, and they can be kind of the final money in the door, that they like that situation, right? So I think showing that, hey, we're under contract, this is, you know, we've broken ground, it's going to be built. That's a stronger argument to make to them, say, hey, you know, your final gift puts us over the top, or puts your name on the maintenance building, or, you know, whatever we want to say.
We've already have these conversations about how do we once we can really cut a ribbon on the project, or once we can ground break on the project with the trail contractor in May, can we make that event really an event that can also look at fundraising and get people excited that the project is we've been under construction, but actually having trails being under construction, we're excited about that. Then having NICA and all those kids here in the fall for that weekend is another great opportunity where hopefully that's where we're cutting the ribbon, surrounded by hundreds of kids getting ready to ride the course in the first competition. And again, hoping that fosters additional donations, additional partnerships, because the project is not. The project is definitely phased, and not just from the cuts that we've made in the last year, but we always knew there would be future phases to the project. So we're hoping that those future phases would come from corporate partnerships and not from any city money in the future. But for right now, we're just trying to get a park open with trails for the kids, for our youth, for our families, and be able to open the park and have those first events, and really hopefully create some buzz around this that we can continue the momentum.
Well, I know you've done everything you can to cut those costs, so I'm in favor of supporting that with a $300,000 donation.
Thank you. We even asked Mr. Kincaid if he'd come out of retirement and run a paver for us to try to save some money.
We thought about it. We did. We had a conversation about it.
Not sure that's the most responsible thing for us to do, but again, it's just a testament to we've tried everything we can. So.
Good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What about all that money when you spoke to us a couple of years ago about all these people going to donate money?
Yeah.
Where's all that at?
Some of those biggest donations that we were hopeful to get obviously didn't materialize. We at one point we had a corporate partnership of $250,000 that would have put us past this issue, but they backed out as COVID started, and it's not been for a lack of trying. I think I've contacted them 6 times.
What happened?
What's that?
COVID's over, so why?
I know COVID's over, and we've reached out to them saying, COVID's over. The bicycle industry has responded. In fact, the bicycle industry really thrived through COVID, although it's an odd story, right? That a lot of people were trying to buy bicycles, but the bicycle industry really couldn't deliver bicycles because they couldn't get raw materials they needed. But yeah, we've reached out to them on multiple occasions, and they've not came back to the table. We had local healthcare partnerships that also walked away, and again, we've reached out to them, and they've not come back to the table. Those 2 items right there alone would have bridged this gap that we thought we had. But it's not there. I wish it was.
Doesn't mean it won't come back.
Nope, doesn't mean it won't come back. So
if we can continue to move forward and see how that is moving forward, and the people that are coming and using.
Yeah.
And that's where I think getting the park open is the key, right? I mean, and I think like I said, we've cut all of the fat off this, right? This is as lean as it can be.
Yeah.
And I think I think at some level that's the value of this, is if we can get the park open, right? And then once it's opening and running, people are seeing the impact of it, then that's kind of maybe when we have some more momentum with it, right? And that's where we can have the discussions of adding the maintenance barn, or adding the skills areas, and adding those other features that we want to see, big picture vision of the park, right? But let's do the basic blocking, tackling, and get the trails delivered that we can host events.
And it's I guess it's worth pointing out too, like this wasn't a budget that we blew, that I came up with in my own mind. We tested this budget. We brought in general contractors to test it. We brought in R.L. Turner and had them price everything out. And the $1.9 million budget that we set was based off of their budgeting and a value engineering exercise that we went through with them to trim fat off the project. So we really thought we had good numbers going into this. Nearly, is over a year ago that we probably wrapped up our funding requests and put the project forth. And even then, we decided we did not want to go with a construction manager delivery method because we thought that would cost us additional money that we didn't have. So we basically tried to self-manage the construction projects in-house to save money. So
I think it's more a reflection, more just the general, or the construction industry as a whole right now, right? There's a lot of work out there. It takes, it's like, here's our price to do it, and it's just hard to.
a lot of people said, hey, it's a seller's market for the contracting industry right now. They can name their price, and that's what I think we're really struggling with, and the amount of contractors that we saw strike interest, and then the final prices they submitted as well. But
I have one other question. How are you going to, I guess, once you start the bicycling, how do all the people that's going to run it, what are we going to fund that from?
Are we going to fund the operation of the park? Through our parks department system. We've spent a lot of time actually working with that staff and working with John, and also talking with people that operate other parks. I've talked about this before, but one of the biggest examples that we go to is the Griffin Bike Park in Terre Haute. It's a Vigo County park system. The park system is twice the acreage of this, and probably has 4 times the amount of trails. It's managed with one full-time person, and he's supplemented with labor from time to time, but there's only one full-time person. And I would say that I think as we continue to grow our park system, that the park system operation will need to grow as well. So I would anticipate that we would be able to, with natural expansions of the park system staff, be able to continue managing this operation and others. There's a lot of park projects that we're running right now, from the additional trails at Abner Longley, the fishing pier at Abner Longley, redoing pickleball courts, just to name a few, frisbee golf, other trail systems. There's a lot of additional parks, and I think that's important, right? That we continue as a city to grow our park system and our park offerings as the city grows. I think that's just something we have to do to be competitive.
Oh, I got quite one question, Kevin. You just mentioned that the pickleball court and the fishing pier and stuff like that. What's the plans to fund those projects this year? Because the pickleball courts, I know, have been a real eyesore for 2 years.
Yep. We're working on getting a designer on board so we can get some accurate estimates on what the reconstruction of the pickleball courts will cost. But you're right, the pickleball court project does not have a funding source as it sits today. The American Rescue Plan money is funding trail expansions and the fishing pier project with the park system. So is it? It's also funding the frisbee golf system as well. There may be other smaller projects on the American Rescue Plan money, but several of those projects are coming out of that.
Are we still working on the pickleball court plan?
Absolutely, yep. We're currently interviewing
Try to come up with a number?
Design firms that can help us put together plans and specifications for bidding of that. And primarily, first, they have to put together estimates for us so that we can start talking about what that funding system looks like.
Okay.
So I don't have a good answer for how that's funded yet, but definitely we've seen an explosion in pickleball over the last couple of years, and we've redone our courts once, but I think we're to a point now where the underlying court surface needs to be reconstructed. It's outlived its useful life, and we're seeing a lot of those cracks continue to radiate through even the new surface that was put down about 2 years ago.
Kevin, I want to thank you. I know you've put your heart and soul into this project. You guys have worked so hard and looked under every single rock to try to find everything you can possibly do. But I just worry, we're already going to be at $2.1 million for this park, and this is just phase 1, bare bones. I mean, to me, I don't want to put out a park that we're going to need to do a bunch of work to, and how much money are we going to be putting in phase 2 and phase 3?
Yeah.
I think we went from a $250,000 to $300,000 park. Now we're at $2.1 million. I know the scale has changed and the amount of amenities is going to change, but I have a hard time giving our food and beverage money from our taxpayers when I really don't think the majority of kids are going to be able, their parents are not going to take them out there on their bikes all the time. Yes, we are going to bring people in to ride their bikes, but I feel like that amount of money could make a bigger difference in another area of the park system. I mean, I was at the park with my girls today, and I mean, the park was completely full. The pickleball courts were full, and that amount of money is a lot of money, and it's really hard for me to set aside that money for it. It's nothing against you. I know you've worked really hard,
fine.
but I have to say,
You're not offending me. These are the decisions that you guys have to make as this body, and I am here to execute projects for you. And if the decision is not to continue forth with what we have, well, we've already fortified our landfill. We've protected that asset. We've installed monitoring systems. And a lot of that is stuff that was never thought we would have to do when we started the project. So those improvements, that's some $800,000 worth of improvements we've already made are all there, and those are valuable, and those aren't throwaway. So I don't envy you. You have to make these decisions, and there are a lot of park needs, and there are a lot of park projects and important, worthwhile projects. And that's what you have to decide is where are those priorities, and I'll help you execute whatever those priorities are.
But we've already gone too far. I mean, we're on the 20-yard line.
We've spent, 800 and...
I think it was $840 we've spent to date.
So
roughly,
far,
since
but part of
2020.
that had to be done because we had to cap it and we had to put the water system in there. So regardless, that would have had to been done.
Part of that was really just more of what was the morally correct thing to do with the landfill.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So there's when we started talking about this like years ago, right? There were two issues. One was what do we do with the old landfill and how do we make sure it's safe and not leaching water off, right? Yeah. And then two, how do we build a park on top of it, right? So
there's always been two projects really, and one is the fortification, one is the environmentally responsible things to do with an asset that was closed prior to regulation, and to be honest, has a lot of risk associated with it. And the state it was in when it closed in the 80s was in pretty rough shape. So we spent about $550,000 hauling in dirt to perfect that cap. The groundwater monitoring system was, I'm going off of memory now, but I want to say $100,000 to $120,000. We probably spent another $100,000 in environmental consulting, getting us through the permitting process. So that's where the bulk of that $800,000 really came from. There are other things that have been minor, the park design contracts. Other miscellaneous things. I've sent the whole group the entire list of all expenses since 2020, so you can see that. There's everything in there from those large items to donuts that we bought for the open house the first day. So we've tried to keep track of everything.
What were you saying? I'm sorry. Okay.
I know what it was. We are so far along. We're on the 20-yard line, We're first and, 10. I mean, we have to keep going. It's fourth quarter.
Well, and to your point, too, I mean, about this being in phased, I still think it's an asset to deliver it, right? I mean, Memorial Park, right, when that became a city park, that wasn't in its final form, right? We've added things over the years. It's just the natural progression of park systems, right? So I think that's natural. I think that's part of it, right? And so, if we just do phase one and that's how it just stays going forward, that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? But if we see great response to it, right, and there's more need for it, right, then we can add on those things if there's a community support for it, right? I think it's our job to gauge, right, what is the community support, right? When we did the pickleball courts, I wanted to keep one tennis court and just do 4 pickleball courts, and John Messenger correctly made the right decision and said, hey, let's just do it all pickleball courts, right? And it's used way more than it ever was before. So that is our job as this, city council, mayor, and department heads, right, to respond to the community of what they want to see. And so we'll put this out there. We'll be able to have, we have different ways to collect data on, how many visitors do we get, and then we can make those decisions of like, is it worth it, right? And to do a phase 2 or phase 3, right? But if this just stays at phase 1 forever, one, we've at least cleaned up a liability from the landfill standpoint, and 2, we've at least delivered a pretty, a great opportunity to kind of go out and enjoy nature, right, in a very kind of passive, natural space, on your bike or running, for cross country, right? So we've at least done that, and then if it's not what people want, then it's always there, and we don't necessarily have to invest in the future either, right? So that's a decision we can all make kind of going forward. So that's all I would say to your point about it being phased. So
I know this was started before I came on the council. My only question is, and at one point you guys had talked about, and I'm still curious, how are we going to get people there that mom and dad aren't going to drive them? Mm-hmm. How do we get the I'm all for a park where you're going to have kids going out there and having a blast and riding on these trails and things, but how are they going to get there?
Yeah, no, it's a valid question, and we get that a lot, and it's not that we aren't exploring ways to get the trail connections out there. In the next, I would say, 24 months, we will see trails extended west from 39 along 300 to the new interchange and out to 52. We have talked with property owners between 300 North and the golf course on how we could connect those trails to build offline trails from those road segments. We've even had those conversations with NDOT about potential state projects that would add a trail to US 52, especially given the fact that we're making an investment in a park system on that corridor. So it's not that we aren't thinking about those things, but I would say, and I think Sierra mentioned this, you're right. Kids aren't going to ride out there. I think you are depending on a lot of use coming from the city, but also from the region. And a lot of those usage statistics that we're talking about, we're sort of scaling down from what they see at Griffin to a potential 20,000 visitors per year, and Griffin Bike Park is also even worse situated from Terre Haute. It is way outside of town. I don't imagine anyone ever rides their bicycle all the way out there. It's really what the riding community is loading their bikes up and driving out there and using it. Or you're driving from other areas. I personally have driven to Griffin on a number of occasions to ride. And there's a lot of also studies that we could also cite about the mountain biking community and the economic development impact that makes in the community, because mountain bikers, for the most part, aren't kids on bikes. That's important that we reach kids on bikes, but for the most part, mountain bikers are gentlemen in their mid-40s that have a lot of disposable income that will come into your city and use your park facility, have dinner afterwards or dinner before, and that's why we think it's also appropriate that we talk about a food and beverage request, because the food and beverage impacts to hotels and restaurants are significant. And to be honest, that's why we have a CVB grant of $100,000 already. CVB grants, if you're not aware, are funded entirely from innkeepers' taxes. And what the CVB will tell you is we give money based on the ability to put heads in beds. And so I think that's a testament to what we're trying to build, is that the CVB sees the opportunity that they can receive a benefit from a $100,000 investment for people coming into the city. So
they approved
they did
donation
approve
to
it.
didn't
They did approve it, and it was a $100,000 grant to be funded over 4 years at $25,000 a year. We've only received one of those payments, so that's where I'm going with this, is that was approved in 21. So 21, 22, 23, 24, we should be wrapping up that donation cycle, and we're asking them to go ahead and give us the rest of the money so we can further defray these costs.
I'd like to make this comment because I've been to Griffin Park, okay, and talked to people that were there, and Griffin Park is way out in country, and it's yeah, it's not the easiest place to find. And the people I talked to were people that basically loaded up their kids and drove them out there, and they're out there riding just like you took your boys out ride.
Yep.
And, you know, I understand this being out there is something that I think will be good for the community. I think as far as the draw goes, it'll be good for the community as far as getting the parents together to take the time to take the kids out there and spend a day with them on the trail. And that's a good thing. And trails eventually in time to get there are something that's just going to happen. It's just not going to happen right away. But as the roads structure changes and the more things we look at putting trails along roads, sooner or later they're going to get there. And that's the thing that the first step is let's get the park open. Let's get it going. Am I thrilled for a lot of money to go to there to make that happen with all the things that John needs in the park? Otherwise, you know, I could use money like that there somewhere else. But, you know, I'm kind of like Mike, you know, we're this close to the goal line that we ought to take one more step and try to get over that edge. And and let's get it going, see what happens, and 2 years or 3 years or whatever, we look at it again and see if there's anything available that needs to happen. We can't do something every year, but every couple of years or 3 years, we ought to be able to make some improvement to that area to make it what we exactly wanted at the very end.
What we're
or
proposing
if not, corporate
is a self-sufficient standalone park. It would not, we would not have to build phases 2 or 3 in the future. We could, but it would be a standalone park. There's also, you know, other conversations, other partners that I haven't even mentioned. Midwest Devo, a youth development cycling league in Zionsville, wants to use the park for training. Marian University wants to use the park for training. The Hoosier Mountain Bike Association wants to partner with us to help maintain the park with volunteer labor, working hand in hand with the Parks Department staff. So those are all things that we've talked about. Sundance Mountain Bike Clinics wants to hold clinics in the area. So we've partnered with them and ways to help program the park. You know, it's also like we're loading into your car and driving to, say, Eagle Creek and hiking trails. You're going to be able to walk and hike and run on these trails as well, even if you aren't a cyclist. We've also talked with Western Boone Schools and Lebanon Community Schools about using the site for cross-country running.
That was going to be my next question.
We're trying to do all we can to see that impact established with the park and see more than just cyclists out there using it.
I just want to make one more point, too. With that Ready 1.0 money, right, so we have a $750,000 grant to build this park. That money is not transferable, right? So if we don't want to move forward with Stony River Bike Park, building that park in the future, if we ever choose to do it, will cost that much more money because we don't have that $750,000 grant, right? So there's also an opportunity cost if we don't build it now, we lose that $750,000 as well. So something else to think about in the overall discussion. Further thoughts?
Make a motion, we approve $300,000 to finish the park.
From Food and Beverage Fund?
Beverage Fund.
We have a motion for $300,000 from the Food and Beverage Fund for Stony River Bike Park. Is there a second?
That's a not to exceed.
Not to exceed $300,000?
Make a motion that we get $300,000 for the park, not to exceed $300,000 from the Food and Beverage Fund.
Motion, is there a second? Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. Again.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes what I have for new business. Is there anything from council?
Just a comment. What?
Announcements?
Announcement?
Yeah, discussion.
Oh, yeah. Kiwanis Pancake Supper is coming up April the 11th. So be sure and get your pancake supper tickets. I have some if you need some.
Thank you, Mike. Any other announcements or discussion? Okay. Would entertain a motion concerning the claims. Motion to pay the claims. Is there a second? Second from Keith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Claims are approved. And would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion adjourns. Is there a second? Second from Keith. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, our next city council meeting will be Monday, March 11th at 7:15 p.m. We are adjourned. Have a great evening.